When my wife, Claire, first joined yoga, I thought it was harmless, even good for her. She'd been talking about finding balance, peace, self-love. After 12 years of marriage, with work stress, bills, and the quiet drift that sneaks into long relationships, I supported it. You deserve something that makes you happy, I told her. I didn't realize she'd find that happiness in someone else's arms. It started small, like most betrayals do. She began mentioning her instructor, Ethan. He's really spiritual, she'd say. He understands energy in a way most people don't. I laughed it off at first. I wasn't jealous, I was secure, trusting. I thought she was just excited about her new hobby. But then she started dressing differently for class, tighter leggings, low-cut tops, more perfume than she ever wore for me. One night, she came home late from what she said was yoga practice and tea with the girls. I hugged her and instantly smelled whiskey, not herbal tea. I asked how it went, and she smiled vaguely. It was relaxing. Something in her tone cracked the surface of my trust. I started noticing patterns: her phone always flipped face down, her laughter while texting, her sudden weekend retreats. I didn't want to be that husband, paranoid, possessive, but my gut screamed louder every day. Then came the night that tore everything apart. It was a Friday. She'd packed a bag, claiming she was going to a 3-day yoga retreat 2 hours away. She kissed my cheek, said she'd call when she arrived, and drove off with that same faint scent of lavender and secrets. But as she left, her phone pinged on the counter. She'd forgotten it, or maybe fate had a hand in it. For 2 hours, I stared at that phone. My heart said no, my mind said yes. Finally, I unlocked it using her birth date. She never thought I'd check. What I found inside shattered me. Messages, hundreds of them, between her and Ethan. Photos. Voice notes. Their spiritual connection wasn't about yoga at all. She called him my balance, my energy, my peace. They'd been seeing each other for months, hotels after classes, secret trips disguised as retreats. I sat there, reading their words, intimate, shameless, cruel. And then one message stood out. It was from that very morning: I can't wait to feel you without guilt this weekend. He'll never know. Something inside me broke. But instead of calling her, I decided to wait. I wanted to see how far the lies would go. So, I pretended everything was normal. When she called from her retreat, I answered sweetly, asking how things were. Perfect, she said, her voice light. You'd love it here. It's peaceful. I could hear the ocean in the background. Her retreat was at a beach, not the mountain resort she'd told me. That night, I packed a bag and drove to the address she'd once mentioned in one of her texts. It wasn't a retreat. It was a small coastal cabin, Ethan's rental. Her car was right out front. I parked far away, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. Through the open window, I saw candlelight flickering. I heard laughter. And then, her voice, soft, teasing, followed by his. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, realizing that the woman inside, the one whispering those words, was no longer my wife. I didn't knock. I didn't confront. I turned around, drove home, and by midnight, I'd made up my mind. By 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was her. Hey, she whispered, as if nothing was wrong. You okay? I should be asking you that, I said quietly. She paused. What do you mean? I know where you are, Claire. I know who you're with. Silence. Then, a shaky exhale. James, it's not what you think. Then tell me, I said. Tell me what it is. Her tone changed, sharp now. You pushed me to this. I laughed bitterly. Excuse me? You stopped paying attention to me, she snapped. You made me feel invisible. Ethan listens. He cares. You're always working, always distant. I just wanted to feel alive again, and you weren't giving me that. I stared at the phone in disbelief. So, your solution to feeling lonely was to sleep with your yoga instructor? You wouldn't understand, she hissed. You never do. You made me this way. At 2:13 a.m., I realized something that hurt worse than the betrayal. She didn't even feel sorry. She had turned her choice, her deceit, into my fault. I didn't argue. I simply said, "You've made your choice, Claire. Stay with him. You don't need to come home." She went quiet. "You're serious?" "Completely," I said. "By the time you're back, the locks will be changed, and the papers will be ready." "James, please." I hung up. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Within a week, everything was in motion. When she finally returned to pick up her things, she looked disheveled, no peace in her balance anymore. She cried, begged, swore it was a mistake. I stayed silent as she packed. Before leaving, she turned to me and whispered, "You'll regret this. You'll end up alone." I met her gaze. I already was. 6 months later, I heard Ethan had moved on, left her for another student. She spiraled, lost her job, and eventually moved back in with her sister. The woman who once blamed me for her betrayal was now the victim of the same game she played. As for me, I rebuilt. Slowly, quietly. I focused on work, on peace, real peace, not the kind she chased through lies and incense. I started hiking, painting, living. One evening, standing on a hill at sunset, I realized I finally felt free. She ran off thinking she'd find her peace in another man's arms. But peace doesn't come from escape, it comes from truth. And when she blamed me at 2 a.m., she didn't realize she was only proving me right. Because the moment she said, "You made me do this," I finally understood. I didn't lose her. She lost herself.